Welcome back, everyone. Mr. Talbot here for you again. We're going to jump into our next topic, which is going to be developments in Southeast Asia, looking at the same time period, about 1200 to 1450. Now, when you say South Asia, it's kind of confusing. We're going to mainly talk about what is today India. And I kind of always remember it as kind of the dagger of Asia because it's kind of this little dagger thing kind of pointing down words. But it's also going to encompass some other places, parts of what is today Pakistan, and then we look at the Southeast Asia, places like Vietnam and Indonesia. So just going over the norms again real quick, because it's still kind of in the first unit. Remember, we want to make sure we've already done the reading that was assigned, and then we're going to have already made those notes. We're going to be adding to those notes with this video. Annotate, make additions, use this for review, to prep for class discussions. You still got to do the reading. And I know that maybe you're hoping it's a replacement. It just doesn't kind of work that way. So make sure we've already got those notes. You get your notes with you as we get going. So before we jump into 1200, as our class starts in the year 1200, people didn't show up then. So it's important that we kind of always remember in world history this word kind of contextualization or context. What the heck was going on when we start doing the studying? And with this topic, particularly, and India in general, really important to understand religion. Two of the major five world religions are born in India, and that's Hinduism and Buddhism. And if you kind of look here, you can see Hinduism was around earlier. And so Hinduism is very, very, very old. Certainly one of the oldest religions in the world. And both of those religions still have a ton of followers today. What we're going to see in this topic is Islam is going to start its spread, as we kind of looked in the last video with Dar al-Islam, kind of spreading from, where it begins on the Arabian Peninsula, and it's going to spread now into South Asia, into India. But you'll notice that that's happening a long, long time after these religions have already been in existence. So, you're talking over 1,000 years since the Buddhists, and, you're getting on 3,000 years since Hinduism got started. Another thing that's been going on at this time is India is not some undeveloped, uncivilized, unsophisticated place. It's one of the most technologically and scientifically advanced places on the planet. And that's thanks to what was called the Gupta Empire, which is around for a couple hundred years. Now, our story is taking place in the 500 to 1,000 years after the Gupta Empire split up. But they didn't just forget all that astronomy and math and stuff like that. So that's still kind of a lingering legacy as we go forward. Today, if you were to look at a population of India, this is from our 2011 census, you'll see it's almost 80% Hindu. You're going to see Muslim. And then what you don't see, though, is Buddhism, which is weird for a religion that started in India. You really don't find a big population of Buddhists today. And we're going to kind of look at some of the causes of that in this video. All right, so the first objective, we're looking at kind of how these different states developed. Like I said, the Gupta Empire has split up. And if you kind of look at the map here of what is today India, you're going to notice that it is really, really fragmented. And meanwhile, you've got all these kind of empires. We got, Song China's over here, this Tibetan Empire, which we haven't talked about yet. Meanwhile, a guy named Genghis Khan's getting stuff rolling in Mongolia. So these bigger empires, things are expanding. India is still really, really fragmented. Now, they're going to be kind of protected from encroachment from the north, thanks to the Himalayan mountains. That's where Mount Everest is. So, pretty much impassable mountain range, even today. But they're not, they have some mountains through kind of what is Afghanistan, Pakistan, but much easier to traverse. And so Muslims are going to do that. So we're going to see this Persian Empire and other Muslim powers pushing into the region. And eventually they're going to be able to take over northern India. This is what's called the Delhi Sultanate. And so this is going to be a Muslim power. That's the term sultan that you'll see. And they're going to kind of try and rule over the area. We're going to see it doesn't totally go well. Southern India is going to get another power. It's kind of an interesting story to look at. Is basically the guy running the Delhi Sultanate had these two guys he'd taken as prisoners, but he kind of was like, oh, you've converted to Islam. We're cool now. Hey, you kind of know the people down there, they're acting a fool. Can you go down there and get them in line and make them be good Muslims like yourselves have become? So they're like, sure, we'll do that. They go south, and instead of getting everyone else in line to become Muslim, they themselves, the people that were sent to convert, end up converting back to Hinduism, which is what they were born into. And they're going to make their own empire. That's called the Vijayanagar Empire, which obviously I struggle saying. This is going to be a super, super wealthy and well-developed civilization, really advanced science, really impressive architecture and stuff. Unfortunately, they got some drama, some splits in the family that kind of split them back up, and it gets going more back to this. And eventually, the Muslim power is going to be able to come in, and I mean, they're going to absolutely decimate Vijayanagar. And it's still abandoned today. It was so thoroughly destroyed. And the Muslims are going to maintain some power in southern India till the 18th century. But you're going to notice as we go forward, the Muslims never really get total buy-in from the people there. And also, with this kind of fragmenting because of the geography of the jungle and stuff, it's hard to control this mass of people and get them to follow you. And so eventually Hinduism is going to come back, and as it never really left, but the Hindu powers are going to get back in charge. Looking at various beliefs of Southeast Asia, whenever you're looking at India and South Asia, you're going to undoubtedly come across the caste system. And so it's really old because it comes from Hinduism, that really, really old religion. And the idea of it, not going into too much detail, is basically from, Brahma, one of the main deities and the creator in Hinduism. Parts of his body created these different classes of people. And you kind of see them listed over here. But you kind of see at the very, very bottom, they weren't even cool enough to have part of Brahma used to make them. And these are your low-level people. Sometimes you'll hear them called untouchables. They do you can see kind of those sorts of jobs there. Above them, you have your laborers, carpenters, that kind of thing. Then farmers, traders, merchants, what will kind of become like a middle-ish class. Warriors and rulers, the political elite, and then priests and teachers. So again, it's coming from Hinduism. They're going to put the priests top, but hey, I'm not mad at teachers are at the top too. Even ahead of kings and stuff. Now, there is a lot of historical debate, I do need to mention, on how rigid was the caste system. Really, how much of this was overblown by the British? How much, when the British get to India, and this is going to be hundreds of years in line, did they kind of emphasize it to try and help, divide and conquer the people, which is a tactic the colonial powers are going to use. Anyway, so it was a part of the culture at this time for sure. And pretty much the caste you're born into is the caste you're going to be in. You get different rights and different jobs, all based upon that. And that obviously is great if you're up top. It sucks if you're at the bottom. From the Hindu belief, these are people that believe in reincarnation and in karma. The way you live your life is going to reincarnate. And if you lived a good life, you're likely to go up into a new class in your next life. If you live a bad life, well, you shouldn't have sucked. Now you're going to move down in class. So that's kind of where that religious connection kind of comes from. Now, the big idea of this is time periods. Remember that Islam and Hinduism are going to be interacting with each other. The Muslim powers, we've already seen, they kind of came in and conquered, which they were able to do because all the different clans in the jungle, the Hindu kingdoms were very, very divided. This bigger Islam power is able to come in and divide up the smaller kingdoms. Islam was looking for converts. We're going to see in the next video, they don't get a ton of them, but they do get a decent amount, and they tend to get them from the poor of South Asian Indian society. And the reason is, hey, if you're down here in the outcast and the Shudra class, you like the idea of Islam because Islam says there should be equality for all believers of Islam, that is. So there's no caste system in Islam. We're going to see Muslims looked down very much so on the Hindus when they were ruling South Asia. And then we're also going to see Islam is going to spread to Southeast Asia, places like Indonesia. And we're going to kind of look at that in our next short video. That's where we're going to leave it for the day. Again, make sure you're annotating, adding to your notes, writing down any questions you have to bring to class discussion. Those are all great practices for as we do these videos. We'll finish up South Asia in our next video.